All right. I don't know how well this is going to go with one hand, but we'll see. It's time to get this thing seasoned up and put on the smoker. We'll start with our Worcestershire sauce. In this neck of the woods, they call it your wash your sister sauce, because people can't pronounce it. Doesn't do much for the flavor, but it really helps your seasoning stick. And now I'm going to start with some pepper. I really like a lot of pepper on my brisket. So this is kind of a medium grind pepper. Not going to cover too much because we want our meat church seasoning to stick. Oops, sorry. I'm trying to watch two things at once here. You get that pepper on there. Pat that in a little bit. All right. I'll get that side when I flip it over. So we're going to cook this fat side down. So now we got our meat church holy cow, which has become my favorite seasoning for brisket. It's got big chunks, it's got small chunks, it's got some of the more coarse ground pepper, but it's also got like all kinds of different spices in there. Makes it pretty good. So you fill in all the spots that you didn't get that fine black pepper. You can get liberal with it too. It's the only thing that we do liberal here in Wyoming. All right. Time to flip this over. And same thing on this side. And I'm going to press that in a little bit. All right. Other than the edges, which I got to do with two hands, that thing's ready to go on the smoker. So I've got it sitting right at 180, 190. So that'll be perfect to smoke overnight. I'm gonna let this thing roll. It's like, what time is it? God, it's almost 11 o'clock. This thing does tend to cook it fast though. Otherwise I'd have put it on way earlier. So that's a big brisket too. So all right, let's get this thing cooking. There she is, all seasoned up. Got the probe in it. Got a wireless probe, meat probe now, so it talks to my phone. I can set an alarm on it, so that if it overcooks before I wake up, or it gets to the point where I need to wrap, which is about 165 or so degrees, 170 degrees, then I can wake up and come out here and wrap it and take care of it. So you'll notice I got the door wedged open just a little bit with those two spacers. Those are magnetic spacers, because this thing tends to run a little hot when you let it go for a long time. So I don't want it overcooking. I want it to cook around 200 or so. If I undercook, I won't have the bark, and then I'll have to turn it way up and push it the rest of the way to be ready for my wife's party tomorrow. But if I overcook it, this thing will be done at 10 and the party's not until 2. So I guess nothing wrong with a 4-hour rest time, but you also don't want it to start cooling off. So I'm putting this thing to bed, and then I'm going to bed. Later, boys. So here we are, about, looks like 7 hours later. The fat's rendered down pretty nicely. I don't think we're quite at the temperature that we want to wrap yet. Nice and firm there. Fat cap is squishy. But boy, that bark is nice and dark. We'll get the thermal pen. Let's see where we're at. Down in the flat, we are at 145. And up in the point, yeah, that's not where I usually want to wrap. It's kind of mid-stalled. So, I'm going to crank this sucker up. We're going to go up to 225, 250. Let's go to 250. Let's speed this up a little bit because it's 6:30 in the morning. And I like to wrap this thing and get it done a little bit later. So, all right, onward. I know y'all are going to judge me for this because all the YouTube videos say wrap it in foil, wrap it in paper, a bunch of different opinions about that. Maybe it's just the elevation that we live above 6,000 feet or whatever it is, but I have found I get the best results on all of my meat, including brisket, if I do it this way. Take an extra large foil pan, it's really light gauge, not that heavy, and I line the bottom with 2 of these short sticks of salted butter, real butter. So, and then I'm going to put this beautiful thing, which is now sitting at 170, which is exactly the right temperature to wrap it. I'm going to put that beautiful thing in that pan. We're going to cover it up with some foil. We're going to put it back on the smoker. And we're going to let that thing basically steam in its own juices and some salted butter. Some people use beef tallow. I'm using butter. We'll see how it turns out. As you can see, that thing barely fits in the pan. So we're going to set that down. Let me get some of that heavy foil. Nice little foil dispenser here. Take some foil and wrap over the top of this. Wrap it down on one side. A little bit too wide for one pass up on the right side. I'm going to leave that probe in there too. We're going to cook it until it gets to 205, 203, that area. Yeah, you're right. This isn't very easy to do with one hand. Should really have a tripod out here. Well, it's not a tripod, but it is a flexible mount, so we'll try not to wiggle it around too much here. And you should be able to see what I'm doing. I'm going to prep these ribs and get those on. Our brisket is still cooking. right now, so this is going to be kind of an added video to that. So you got to always start with a sharp knife, no matter what you're trimming, no matter how. I do like a really good two-way sharpening on this every once in a while, but I'll just touch it up with one of these. These are actually really good, and they're cheap, like $6 on Amazon. So we're gonna get these ribs ready to go. Open this package. It's gonna have some water, a little bit of stuff in it. So I'm gonna try to keep this cutting board clean because I just sanitized it. So I have a paper towel dispenser up there behind you. Just gonna get some of that water out of there before I transfer it to the pan. Just kind of pat some of it off so we don't have a bunch of it pooling in there. And you'll notice I wear a glove on one hand. It's kind of a clean hand, dirty hand method. I can handle not really dirty, but just not sanitized. Handle the mustard and the other containers and my knife and stuff with this hand, and only touch the meat with this hand, and be careful not to touch anything else with this hand. So you're gonna need a little bit more, that moisture off of there, so get that mustard to stick. Pat that down, and then we're gonna pull this membrane out of here, because the way that I like to cook these, I like to get that membrane off. So what we got to do there is it really helps if you dry that off, because you can grab it. You sometimes grab it with a paper towel, but it's going to be right. You go between two of the prominent ribs, and you should be able to get it. It's right in there. You can see that, and it holds together pretty well. So just work your way across the ribs so you get the whole membrane. And just peel it this way, and now I can peel it off this way. It comes all the way off the end. Get another paper towel, we'll do the same thing on this other one. A little bit more moisture dried up here. Do the same thing, just pick a spot between two of the ribs. You usually get that edge of the membrane. If you dig too deep, there's actually kind of like two membranes on there. You don't want to get too deep. You get the one that kind of holds the ribs together. You don't want that. This is just kind of an extra layer that's in there. Get that up with that paper towel. Bring it right out the end. Okay, now these ends are going to have a little bit extra. I mean, I know that's a little bit of meat and fat, but it's just going to end up drying out and getting burnt when you smoke it. Do the same with that edge. Some people trim ribs a lot more than that, but I do not. I like to keep as much on there as I can and just get the small pieces, really thin pieces of fat and meat off the end that are just going to burn, because you smoke them long enough, they're just going to burn. Well, had to catch that, so need a new glove. So what we're going to do here is we're going to, when we smoke these, we're going to smoke them rib side down. And what that does is if it gets a little warm and it burns the ends of the ribs a little bit, it's not going to matter. It keeps all the meat a little bit further up away from the flames, definitely out of contact with the grate. So what we're going to do is, for a little bit of binder, I always use, when I'm doing pork, whether it's a pork loin or ribs, I use yellow mustard as a binder. I just rub that on there. What that's going to do, gives it a little bit of tangy flavor. Mustard's really good on pork. You'll notice on the beef I use Worcestershire sauce or Worcestershire sauce. So I'm just going to put that mustard binder on there It'll help hold the seasoning in while it's smoking, because it'll tack up really quickly because of the little bit of sugar and stuff that's in it. Okay, so we'll get that done. Look at this side. Now we're going to season this side with the Gospel from Meat Church. First time I've tried the Gospel on pork. I've heard that it's really good. I'm actually going to go the spoon side so I can just kind of control the, yeah, that gets a little bit heavy out of there. Comes out a little fast, so I guess we'll just stick with the other side there. I'm going to get it up. I want to get it on the ends. I want to get it on the ends of the ribs as well. Don't worry about over seasoning. As soon as you flip that over, the excess seasoning will come off. You know, building up in the inside there. But you just be a little bit more careful when you season the meat side. And do that here as well. Do this on both sides. I do put a lot of seasoning on my ribs. I really think it makes a difference. Used to worry about over seasoning and not being able to build bark. Believe me, it builds bark and smoke ring and all the things that people care about. Right? Let's flip these over. A little more on that end. Okay, that should be good. Our smoker is over to the left here, and I'm going to refocus this, or repoint the camera, and show you where we're going to put it over there. So we got the temperature set at about 250 degrees on this smoker. We're going to go ahead and put these ribs on here. I know a lot of folks will take their ribs and put their meat on there and put a temperature probe in it, but that's not going to be necessary because I'm just used to how this works. Still got sauce from that brisket on there. That ought to be good. I know that I'm going to have to cook probably about a good 2 hours before it is ready to wrap. I will probe it for temperature if it hits about 140, 145. But just like the brisket, I'm going to put it in a pan, not this pan obviously. So we're going to throw this one away. But I'm going to put it in a pan with butter, just like the brisket. Because like I said, that seems to have the best results. All right, boys, it is about 11:30, and we've kept a pretty good cook temperature there between 275 and 300 for the last few hours. I guess we put on 6. Last time we checked, it was about 6:30, so it's been a few. Clearly, still making smoke, but the internal temp on our brisket has reached 203, and I know I said 205 is kind of the ideal temperature, but it's been on here a while and I need to give it some time to rest, so we're going to check it out. So I'm going to pull just an edge of this, not the whole thing, just in case you got to rewrap it. We're going to take a look at how this brisket looks. It is hot. I'm wearing a heavy cotton glove here, but oh my goodness. Bruh, that looks good. And it looks done. I'm gonna get my other meat probe. Digital temperature probe. That's flat right at 204 almost. That point, oh look at that thing just jiggle, is sitting right at 204 as well. So it's actually a little bit warmer than the meat probe was saying. So we're going to take that out of there. Take that meat probe out. Clean those up later. Turn this off so it doesn't start screaming at me. Come on now. What's going on there? Oh, it's going to turn off. Oh, I have it plugged in. Charge it. Started to die on me while it was while I was using it. I had to plug it in, so plug that in later. But boy, does that look amazing. I mean, look at that. It just jiggles. Now, you see all that liquid in the bottom? Only part of that is the butter. Most of that is in the brisket itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover this thing back up. I'm going to take it inside, and I don't have the oven on, but I'm going to let it rest in the oven so that it'll cool down really, really slowly, and when we unwrap it later, it will have reabsorbed a lot of that. You take it off the heat, and as it cools, it starts reabsorbing a lot of that moisture, that fat and the butter and all of that good stuff. Man, the seasoning looks excellent. I don't think the point is overcooked. Oh no, it's good. That fat is almost all the way rendered out. Look at that. I mean, when it is, when you can almost press through it, that's exactly what you want. So I'm looking forward to it. So I'm gonna get some thermal gloves on because it's gonna be hot. Double put another pan under it and get it in the house and get it resting. Man, I can't wait. But let's check on the ribs while we're out here. Alright, well, they're starting to tack up a little bit. Getting a little bit of heat on them. I think I'm going to turn that up to about 225 because it's not cooking too. Cook pork a little higher. It's not cooking too quickly. We want it to be done by the time our guests get here. So, but it's looking good. Starting to dry out and bark up a little bit. We'll just get that thing cooking a little bit warmer. Well, I think it's time to check on those ribs. Been smoking for a while. Check that internal temperature. Probe here, and kind of heavy part of it, looking at 154, so it's a little warmer than I anticipated. It cooked a little faster. 160, that's still not bad. That's a good place to put them in the pan. It's a good temperature to be at, because just like the brisket, we're bringing these up to 200 or thereabouts. The other way you can tell, clean set of tongs, is if you look at the bottom there, the ends, the marrow's coming out of the rib bones. It's kind of burning a little bit, but you can see it's starting to pull back from the meat, and the tissue and the fat is starting to pull back from the ends of the ribs. That's how you can tell they're getting there. And this is about the perfect time to get them wrapped up or in a pan like we're going to do. So, I'm going to get that prep table ready, and we'll get them in the pan. Alrighty. Well, you remember how I said we put butter in the bottom of the pan, right? Well, here's the butter, and here's how I do it. With a cleaver. These are fresh out of the fridge, so you can cut a good square. I cut them about between 1/8 and 1/4 of an inch. Each one. And I put them in line with where the rib is, where one rack of ribs is going to lay. The reason we do this, ribs are pretty lean when it comes to the meat. They don't have a lot of thickness to protect it from burning to the bottom of the pan. So I put this directly under where the ribs are going to go. And try to do that throughout. What I do is instead of oil, I do put a little bit of sauce in the bottom of the pan. And our sauce today is Kinder's Gold. So I'm just going to put a little bit down there to get under the ribs, just to get them started. There again, it's not going to do much. I'm going to put most of the sauce on top of the rib. When we basically braise them, we braise them meat side down. Man, look at that. Huh, some nice looking ribs. Keep the heat in there. Now we're just gonna take the sauce. We're gonna put it on there pretty liberally. We want that sauce to stay in that kind of dish area where the ribs are at. Keep them from drying out, and also give it that flavor. Because with the sauce on the top, it's gonna glaze up and it's gonna stick to it nice. Get some on the meat there. Now this is really hot, but I'm gonna go ahead and do it anyway. Get that sauce spread out on there. Yep, that's warm. Since I don't have my my mop out here, I'll just use my fingers for this one. All right, about a half a bottle of that sauce. That's some good stuff right there. Now, throw some tin foil on top of it. Now here, because we're cooking the meat side down, I could put a temperature probe in it, I suppose. Keep an eye on it. But I know where the thick end of the ribs are at. And so what I'll do is I'll put them back on here. I know it's going to take at least another 2 hours. And it is 12:30. So right around 2 o'clock, hour and a half from now, I'll come out here and probe it, and I'll bet you it'll be pretty close to 200. Like I said, you start cooking with your own materials, and you get to know your equipment pretty well, and you know how long it takes to cook. So we're gonna set it out and put it back on the smoker and let it cook. All right, now it's time for the rib reveal. I'm gonna bring this up, see what's shaking. Oh yeah, baby. That right there is exactly perfect. When I slice those up, those rib bones are gonna literally just pull right out. Get that probe out of there. Did end up putting a probe in it because in all the other preparations for my wife's birthday, I realized I was going to be busy and probably not check on it. So I hooked it up. Sure enough, it gave me the alarm. So, all right, we're taking these off. Oh yeah, there's the point. We haven't cut that yet. I'm currently cutting the flat.
Tell me what you want, I'll fix it.
And here's one of the burnt ends.
These are what I have, only I have pink and purple.